Hey, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Dana Trupiana, and I am here with
John.
And Ken.
So last week we did an episode and we kind of got a little tangential where we just kind of I think we covered one topic the entire show, and I think we recorded for about 4.5 hours. We're going to try to not do that so much this week. We're going to try to do a little bit of talking, and then we're going to try to stay on topic and get to at least a few stories. So before we start getting into stories, does anybody have anything they would like to talk about?
One of the topics I thought was interesting, and I think that we equally could have input on, is why success doesn't feel like you imagine it would.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so why does success not feel like you thought it would? So me personally, I think that the reason behind that is because everybody kind of lives in a, well, if I had this, life would be okay. If I had that, or when I have that, everything's going to be okay. So you have this idea of okay, I don't have any money. When I have money, if I keep working, when I have money, everything's going to be okay. There's going to be no stress. I'm not going to have the fear of not being able to buy a meal. I'm not going to have the fear of this. I'm not going to have to behave this way. But nobody really realizes that every single thing in the world comes with struggles. You have this idea in your head that once you reach your goal, everything's just going to be amazing. You're going to be happy. But honestly, happiness is boring as hell. Nobody wants to be happy 24/7. And that's why I think that people kind of create their own drama, their own mess, because happiness all the time is boring. So even if you reach that goal, you're going to have problems. You're just going to have different problems. And I think people don't realize that. People think, oh, I'm just going to be happy. And they don't realize that there's just a different set of problems that comes with it.
I would agree. I think also it's how you would imagine it. It's almost like you really, really, really wanted something that might be material. And I guess it's kind of like that beginning noon feeling. Like, I can't wait. Or you see a new phone that you like, oh, I cannot wait to get that phone or that gadget. And you finally get it. And you get the whole unboxing experience and you're like smelling it. And you're just like, oh, this is so nice. And you plug it in, you charge it. And then within that same week, talking about it with people, you're trying to find any which way to add it in. Like, yeah, you know what I just got? You know what I just got?
You want to inform people and brag to them.
You want to just like slight brag a little bit just because you want to talk about it. It's when you were a kid and you got that new toy and you're telling your parents everything about it. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, they have this little handbook, and in the handbook, you can take his arm off, and when you take his arm off, it explodes. And it's just like, okay, that's cool. And it's just like, you're not excited with me. And it's just like, as once you get it, as it starts to set in, it starts to get old. And I think it's not as you imagined it was. It's because sooner or later you realize that you have to find something else to replace that dopamine feeling of the newness of it. Even when it becomes like you got it, like the saving up the money for the toy, saving up the money for the electronic. It's like once you spend it, it becomes so fleeting and almost that vanity feeling.
So the thing is people are addicted to the next best thing. So look at, let's say, all right, a video game, let's say. So let's say Call of Duty just came out. So we're all excited all year for the next Call of Duty. It was supposed to be the greatest thing in the world. Now you get there and you're like, that's fun. It's exactly what you said, that you're addicted to the dopamine of getting the chase. Exactly. Yeah. Same thing with relationships. It's the same exact thing. Like, you sat there all this time chasing this girl or guy or whatever. And then when you finally get with them, and then that's where cheating comes, because now you're content, you're happy. And then now all of a sudden you're like, oh, but this is unattainable right now, but I want it.
People don't realize that they're not. So, okay, I want to be a millionaire. Let's say that. They think that once you become a millionaire, you're going to always appreciate it. You're always going to think about the fact that you were poor once. And so because you're different than the other millionaires, you came from nothing, you're going to always appreciate the money. And you're always going to appreciate what it can give to you because you've been there, you've been in poverty. But that's just not the case. People don't realize how quickly you fall into step. Like, okay, it's like when you get a cold, right? And you're like, your nose is stuffy. And you're like, once my nose is not stuffy anymore, I'm never going to not appreciate that my nose isn't stuffy. I'm going to always appreciate that I have a clear nose and I'm not stuffy. and then you appreciate it for about a minute, and then you forget about it. It's just in the back of your head.
Right.
And people don't realize that happens. You don't appreciate things. You don't keep something in your mind forever. Yeah, you'll appreciate it, and it'll pop into your head every once in a while. Like, oh my God, I remember that cold. Oh my God, my nose was so stuffy. I'm so happy that my nose isn't stuffy anymore. But that's about it. It's a fleeting thought. It's not something that's always in your head. And I think it's the same thing with money or a game or anything that you want. It's a fleeting moment of appreciation, and then you just kind of go back to your life.
Because in America we are programmed to not be happy with what we have.
Yeah, because it's always, especially with the social media, you're always a victim of seeing the inside of someone else's house, and you're kind of just viewing it from that viewpoint, like, oh man, I wish I could get that. I wonder, they probably really happy with that. And you're seeing all the highlight reels, and you're seeing the tenderness of life into people's worldview when it comes to like their lifestyles and things
like comparison culture.
Correct. And it's like, it's almost, what's the saying with jealousy? It's its own when you're jealous of someone, and it's the enjoyment of what you actually have. Like, it steals the enjoyment of what you actually have. It's almost comparison, like how much of a difference it is when you're talking to, like, say, someone that's homeless and to someone that has a home versus someone that's renting. It's like those three different point of views. Like, the homeless person, like, man, if I could only rent. And the renter is like, man, if I can only own my own home. You know what I mean? It's like you have those appreciation
and
factors.
The person that owns their home is like, oh, if I could only own a nicer home.
Right.
There's always something that you want to strive. Because if you think about it, if you don't have something you're striving for, you've lost all of your ambition.
Correct.
That it's almost,
or if you have everything,
it's almost good for you to always want something more.
Pursuit of happiness.
Right.
But in order to be happy, you need to learn how to be content with what you have. But then you're not goal oriented, as most people will say, because like, I gotta say, like, our life, we're pretty content with our life. Like, but do I wish we had a bigger house? Like, hence why we want to move, because we were good. We put this new kitchen in and all this, and now we're like, but is it enough space? And now that's where you're like, well, we could have like a 4 or 5 bedroom, because the way our house is, we have an upstairs and a downstairs, and we have my father-in-law lives downstairs, and then we have up here. But we're like, well, do we want to have another kid? And so now you start thinking about the next step. So that's why we're the content. Like, am I content with our life? Absolutely. But
is there something that could make it better?
Exactly. Right. And that's just programmed into our lives, I think, since the time we're born. Because like, look at anything, like, you go for a job, like, there's always another position that you're going to feel like is going to be better.
See, I personally get irritated with contentment. It makes me so angry if someone he's a victim of my ambition, because I think that, like, we were just talking before we started recording about how his airline game, he puts so much energy into this airline game, where I'm like, if you put half the energy that you put into this game into like researching stocks or anything, we would be millionaires. And when he's just like, but do we really need to be millionaires? I'm like, yes, I want to be a millionaire. Like, yes, stop putting it into the video game and it's just, when you get content, you lose your ambition, and that, I don't know if other people are okay with that, but me personally, I get irritated with it. I'm just like, there's always something better you could be doing. There's always something more you could be doing. You could open a business. You could have a side hustle. There's a million things that you can do, and if you're just sitting around not doing anything, you're just kind of wasting everything. You're wasting your time, your talent, your everything. There's so much better out there for you.
But that's where you start to become unhappy with how you're like.
Right.
I was brought up, like, you be goal oriented, but like, I look at it this way, like, our bills are paid. We don't struggle. If we want something, we can pretty much go out and get it. Like, we're pretty good in life. And where Dana is definitely the person that's like, well, we could have a completely different life. We could travel more. Okay, that's fine. But when you can't travel or you can't do the things that you want, that's where unhappiness is. And me, like, am I miserable a lot of the time? Yeah, but that's just my own head. Like, that's life. But
mental illness.
Yeah, clinical depression, whatever, But I personally am I'm content with life. And like, I live pretty simple. Like, if I need something, I want it. Like, like we just
Right.
got that TV or whatever. But like at the end of the day, I'm happy. Where she's the complete opposite with that, where she's like, well, we like I said, she wants to travel. Let's say, like, would I love to travel? Absolutely, that'd be great. We can travel if we wanted to, but we just don't. So like it's
Right.
it's, I don't know. I think that's what it is that with success, you could be the CEO, but now as a CEO owning your own business, you're like, but I want to open up 3 more stores. We're always wanting to have more. And that's where unhappiness comes from.
I agree. And I think closing statement, at least for me, is, at least personally, if I was to make it a closing personal statement, is I learned that as I start to develop certain goals, is I have to start believing in my yes and my no to myself. Meaning anytime I have to be consistent and allowing myself to imagine what it would be like and I have it, it's already really being accustomed with myself to say, if I'm going to do this and commit to that time to do it, then I have to make sure that I let that be what it is. Whatever it fruitions to being, I have to be comfortable knowing that I will get there. And when I am there, I have to realize that once I've actually done it, to realize I've done it and not continue just straight past it like a stop sign. Like, you remember
So you want to appreciate what you
yeah,
have
I want to
more.
live in that moment when I finally get the goal, instead of getting the championship ring and then be like, all right, but what if I can get 3 more? I'm
Yeah.
like, this is kind of what Ken was saying. Like, he's gotten to the point of his contentment where has the check marks, like, all right, I'm able to do those things at a moment's notice if I wish to do it. And that is the idea of contentment for him, is that if I wish, I can get it. I don't need to do it every second to get it. Whereas your perspective, at least from my end statement, is like, okay, cool, but not only do I want to be able to get it, but I also am going to do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he says like, "Oh, we could travel." Yeah, we could, but I have priorities. I won't ever travel and drain our bank account when I have a kid and I want to make sure that he's good to go. So that's why I say, like, I personally would like to have a lot more money, because we could travel, but it would take a decent dent out of our bank account. Whereas if we had a lot more money, then we could go travel and I wouldn't freak out the whole time about the amount of money being spent. So I think it depends on what you have as an expectation. So, you could, I want to make 6 figures. Okay, you make 6 figures. Now I want to build up a savings account. Okay, you built up a savings account, but now where you didn't have a savings account at all, you want to build, let's say you want $10,000 in your account. Now you have that $10,000 and now you're like, but I don't feel safe until I have 20,000.
Right.
And it's just a constant attainment. And that's just the trap that I've always put myself in. I'm a perfectionist and I'm a goal chaser, and I don't think I'll ever not be like that.
Right. Balances each other out. You have someone that, as you're superseding and looking for, let's say if it was a ship, you're constantly, looking for the next island. And Ken is able to, like, all right, we went to this island. Cool. We did that. But hey, that last island was pretty good. We should probably stay here. Cool. No.
Where would you say that you fall
into? I would say it's hard. I'm almost in between both. I would lean a little bit heavier towards you, because I'm excited to see how far I can become what I imagined myself to be when I was a child.
Okay.
So I have an image in my head. If I was to make it like a metaphor, it's like I'm trying to get past the door where I felt like that's where I should have been behind. I would be behind. And I think that's also like the biggest fear, is like opening that door and not seeing myself on the other side. It's like,
So you
wow.
want to be able to recognize yourself when you get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely understand that.
If I change for the betterment, cool. But if I change at what cost of the goal, I think that would hurt.
Yeah.
Like, that old typical, you look across through, the table and it's your older self. And then he's like, it wasn't worth it. That would hurt.
Yeah.
That would hurt. Knowing it's like, you did it, but it's like,
what of you did you give up to get there? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually that fits kind of well into what we're going to be talking about this week. So as I said, last week we had an idea for what we wanted to go over, and we got a little bit tangential and we went off on a million different ways and we didn't hit the topics that we wanted to hit. So we're going to hit those this week. So let's get into the first topic that we're going to go over. So the first topic that I wanted to talk about is actually a TikTok video. It's posted by a user called Clear Spirituality. The video is just kind of like a text. It's like a row of texts. So I'm going to read them and then we'll talk about them. So the text starts out, it's called Soul Trap Explained and How to Start Getting Out. In contrast to the New Age belief that we choose to incarnate on Earth to spiritually evolve, the soul trap hypothesis states that we were tricked into coming here and reincarnating over and over again. By who? Evil entities that feed off of human energy, especially negative emotions. Why? So they have as many humans under their control as possible, and so a larger food stock. How the soul trap works. A free soul comes across Earth and is greeted by false white light entities. They deceive it, emphasizing how wonderful Earth is, leaving out suffering, mundanity, and how you don't get to leave. The soul is led towards the spiritual matrix, energetic grid over Earth. Once inside, the soul is bombarded with negative energy, butchered, forced into a body and made to forget who they really are. They live a human life in which they are never taught how to spiritually defend themselves, so grow weaker and weaker as entities feed off their energy. They are implicated with spiritual technology, etheric implants that make them docile and easy to control. When the physical body dies, they are drawn towards a light, then love-bombed, guilt-tripped, and manipulated into reincarnating. With each life, the soul becomes weaker, further from its original essence, and the chances of escape diminish. If there's any truth to this, it means 1. You are way more than a physical body and your life circumstances. You've just forgotten. You aren't meant to be here. That feeling of not belonging, that there's been some mistake, was right. Most things you don't like about yourself aren't actually you, but the result of being drained and distorted by entities. The world is messed up by design to weaken, distract, placate, drain, and ultimately rob you of your potential so you aren't a threat. Soul trap evidence and next steps. As with any metaphysical spiritual theory, it's difficult to find hard evidence. If it is true, entities would do their best to hide it. The closest would be accounts of near-death experiences, which seem positive on the surface, but when analyzed, show patterns of guilt tripping and a lack of choice in reincarnating. If Earth is so great and these beings are so benevolent, why would they resort to these tactics? The inequality, meaninglessness, and suffering that characterizes human life makes a lot more sense if it's so bad by non-human design. The best way to prove or disprove this to yourself is to try to see entities, implants, and or the spiritual matrix for yourself. So there's a lot that goes into that. And this is why I was trying to go over this last week when we were talking about religion, because I kind of was trying to talk a little bit about religion and spirituality. So the reason that I wanted to go over this is because you hear the idea of like being reincarnated, your soul has to learn a lesson. Have you ever read into there's like a book that
Like what's it called? Taoism?
Mm,
I know there's a particular word for it where they believe in reincarnate. It's like a reincarnation belief.
I don't know that it's like it's more just like spirituality, where the idea is like your soul is sent to Earth to learn a lesson, and you're going to be on Earth reincarnating until you learn that lesson. Have you ever heard of that? There's like a book. It's big on TikTok where they did like this whole study of people that had near-death experiences, and the whole idea behind it though is that it's not, because I mean I think everybody's really heard of the idea of like you're here to learn a lesson. We're on this earth to learn a lesson, and then you move on to a different place,
Meaning Earth is to be the trial period.
Like a school, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's some people have like the acronym of what Bible is, basic instructions before leaving Earth. They'll have it in that same sentiment. I guess if you think of it as Earth being a trial, and then the goal is to not just reincarnate, but die and go to heaven, and not just reincarnate back to Earth.
Right.
And have to do it all over again until you get to heaven, or final destination would be hell.
Right.
I guess in that theory or viewpoint.
So have you ever heard of the idea of like a life review?
That sounds familiar. Like if you like.
So there's this idea, if you don't follow religion and you just follow spirituality, there's this idea that when you die, you're brought to like a movie theater room. and you sit in the
Like the movie Soul, not Soul.
I know what you.
Yeah, maybe Soul.
not Soul.
Where he sits.
There is a
and
movie,
watch.
yeah, and you sit in this movie theater and you watch a movie of your life,
Right.
and pretty much like the things that you did right, the things that you did wrong, what lessons you learned, and what lessons you still have to learn. And there's this idea that you can go on after that and you have like a soul family, and you're constantly born and reborn with this soul family. And like, you have your mom, let's say, and your mom died, but your baby is born, and your baby has your mom's soul, and you just kind of keep reincarnating so that you could be on earth with your soul family. And a lot of people have talked about that, and this is a topic that I've never really heard too much about, but I do want to go. There's another story I want to go over that kind of made me keep my eyes on this one. So I'm just going to go into one of the comments and we'll talk a little bit about it. So the first comment is, if you live in fear, this will resonate with you, but let intuition and love guide you, and you'll feel intuitively that reincarnation is a choice. A reply by the OP of this post: why should we need to learn lessons at all? Is this the best possible learning environment? Is blind love and trust the best attitude? Questions like that. Does anybody have any thoughts?
I guess it would, if someone is thinking as like, I guess the concept you were saying with the movie theater concept. I think, at least in my mind, it would be a more hopeful. It's like you never have to really pass the test if you know you have a chance to take the test again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my mentality. I think if I use it as a belief system, personally, it'd be hard for me to have it as a belief system, because I can't imagine in my mind it being that easy of a choice with not having. I guess I would have to ask, like, what are the limits of the reincarnation? Because I don't know, I can't confirm or deny if it's Taoism. I have to look it up. But I forgot which religion or which culture believes in it, that like, say you did something bad in your past life, you would be like a bug or something, or if you did pretty good, you would move up in the hierarchy of the world.
Well, I know in Hinduism, and I only know this because I watch Big Bang Theory, Hinduism, they teach that the more you suffer in this life, the better the next life you'll have.
Right.
So like Raj makes the joke, oh, well, we're taught that the more we suffer in this life, the better life we'll have next life. If I spend 3 months in the Arctic with Sheldon, I'm going to be born next time as a billionaire.
So meaning the more I make, so would it be choice of struggle or circumstance of struggle? Meaning like, this just so happened I have to struggle with it, so now that I have an increased chance of it better? Or do I, like, you know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm just cheat the system. I'm gonna just make my life as terrible as possible.
Right.
And then
I don't know much
like
about
invest
Hinduism.
No, but in my mind, if
Yeah.
I'm theorizing, then I would try to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the rule set where it's in place for me to be like, nah, you tried to cheat the system. Guess what?
Yeah.
You're an ant this time, buddy. You're gonna have to make a good dirt hill to get back.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
So I personally have always been more on the spiritual side of things. I fully believe in astral projecting. I believe in that. I believe in like there being another like soul realm.
So outer body separation from body and soul.
Right. So like, have you ever done any reading up on the Gateway experience?
I've not read, but I've testimonials. I've heard people's testimonies.
So the Gateway experience, pretty much what it is it's like a long set of videos that you watch, and it walks you through how to pretty much meditate, I think, but like a certain different way to meditate. And when it first came out, it was just kind of like this cool thing that could help you get to a higher level. But then as time went on, there started being like CIA reports that were released that proved that the CIA actually developed the Gateway experience. And the reason that they did it was for like espionage, because if they had people go through the Gateway experience, they could leave their body. And then let's say there's an ISIS leader that they're trying to get. They could have the people that would leave their body go to like this ISIS leader's location, and they could like go in a drawer and retrieve a document, look at it, and like know what's there, even though their physical body had never actually been there. And so like, when you hear these like conspiracy theories, it's a whole different thing than when you read it on a CIA document. It's absolutely crazy to read like an official government paper that's saying that this is real. And so I think that I've always kind of followed that. Like I'm more like spiritual. I believe in astral projecting. I believe in the soul review. I believe in that kind of stuff. And I think that's what's always steered me further away from religion and like organized religion is that I've never believed in like a single entity that punishes you if you don't believe in that entity or anything like that. I truly believe in if you're a good person and you do good things and you have good intentions, then things will go well for you. I believe in manifesting. I think that if you believe something, you can help make it come to fruition.
Like affirmations.
Exactly.
'Cause that's what
Exactly.
affirmations are. You
But it's whether you believe you could state affirmations all day every day. But if you don't believe them and you're just reading it, it's never going to come true. But I truly do believe. I believe in manifesting. I believe in that, and I'm not like one of those like, crunchy moms that's like, oh, if but I do believe that if you believe something, you're going to make it happen.
But so what's to say that that CIA document wasn't part of a conspiracy to get people to believe that this is all true also? Because
how would that benefit them?
Because there are people that believe that you can astral project, or whether you believe it or not, I definitely think it's possible. But what's to say, like, you have to be able to government in itself, you got to be able to control
information.
So you have to appeal to whoever mindset is like that. So you release a document. How hard is it to release a document, even though it's on a government piece of paper that says this is possible, that we've done this? Because now you're appealing to that person saying that, well, if you're still doing something good, you're still going to end up in a good place. So I know what I'm trying to say.
If I were to lean on what you're saying, are you saying more or less that if, for example, if you're the government and you put out a certain amount of information, in theory that you're able to do something in hopes to get the people that would believe in it, or like the area, like think of like when Area 51, they try to storm Area 51 because people were getting tired of feeling like they weren't being told the truth and wanted to know what was actually happening, and like the aliens, it's like, how do you think them putting out documents like that of trying to say like, yeah, we have extraterrestrial, and kind of trying to like, hey, we got it, calm down, yes, this is real, and affirming certain people to try to like go over there. Here's your,
I think that the way
of-
that you guys are going is like that South Park episode where they're like, someone believes that the government planned 9/11, and the whole South Park episode is them like, oh, I believe that it was the government that did 9/11, and then they go through how like that's just giving the government too much credit, and the government wants you to believe that they planned 9/11.
Psychology.
Right, like, oh, well, I want you to believe that I'm powerful enough to plan something like 9/11, but it really was just terrorists.
Right. Or the trickling down effect of almost it could be one in both, meaning one could have happened, two things could be true, where it happened, but then let me control the narrative.
Right.
Exactly. And that's why I was saying, like, so when it comes to like spirituality and like astral projecting and stuff like that, like having a soul, I believe what you believe, where like I haven't been religious. I've said that in the past on here, but like I do believe that there's something else out there, and I do feel like that there has to be some sort of check and balances for your soul, because if everyone's out here just running amok, like there has to be some sort of consequence for that.
Because what would be morality be without an end all be all?
Exactly. But going back to this is that I feel everything is about control in general. Like I feel like that no matter what is out there, you have to control something. So like government can put out that today we have witnessed, this document comes out in 1990, now that we're going to release it and say, we had people back then that have it documented that we watched Jesus walk on water. So now, it must be true if the government said it, obviously nowadays, like you really can't believe a damn thing the government says, but you know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know.
Yeah. Or half truths.
Yeah.
I guess on the same sentiment that you were saying, if you put it in like in the animal kingdom or the animals, right? Would you say that, do you think animals have a sense of morality in the wild? Like, I shouldn't do that. Like, it's almost, there's the food chain order that's just undeniable.
I think it's just more about instinct of survivability in the wild.
Right,
I
but
don't think they
there's
have.
no level of morality. Like there's no, you know what I mean?
I feel like in the wild, there's kill or be killed. Not
Right,
nine
but
times
I
out of
also,
10.
But
I
it's
also,
not like if the lion eats the gazelle is like, why would you? It's not like the gazelle's like, nah, why'd he do that? It's like it happened.
right, but a lion's not going to kill another lion because for fear of retaliation from the other lions. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You're not going to turn around and kill the female lion because you don't want all the other female lions to come and kill you. So I think that religion is kind of instilling that into humanity. It's just like that innate underlying sense of if I do something, something else will happen. And when you have a society that has, let's say, a police force that's stretched a little too thin to deal with every single
Atrocity.
crime that happens, or like people get away with murder, and if you don't have a justice system that can handle every single crime, then you have to instill in people that something there's going to be some blowback if you just go off and do whatever you want.
That's not exactly what I mean. There's no justice system in the animal kingdom.
Right.
So
there is.
You get cast out.
There's no government, but there's definitely a justice system.
I mean, there's not one. It's not an animal that roams around. It's like, all right, make sure the lions. Hey, y'all remember, y'all can only eat the gazelles. Hey, the elephants. Yo, chill out. Don't try to stomp out the lion. You know what I mean?
That's not true though, because if you look at the Lion King in itself, like Scar got cast away because he wasn't listening. Like,
oh, you mean like the
if you
tribal elements of animals, like the ones that have
like pack
systems.
standards, yeah.
Like there's
which
no
is why I
alpha
said there
wolf,
is a
there's just
justice.
a pack.
There's a justice system.
alpha
There's
is the
just not
pack.
like a government.
That's what I'm saying. There's no distinct animal that all the animals listen to.
But I mean, I don't
that's
think
not true because you got the king, the lion. Like if you look at the Lion King itself,
the Lion King is a movie. That's not how
No,
the jungle actually works.
That's what I mean,
The desert,
or this savannah.
I don't know. There's a lot of movies out. Like there's a lot of movies where it's the circle of life and stuff like that. Like I'm trying to think of one not be getting away from the Lion King when it comes to it, but there's plenty of movies where it's like there's one that controls the
food chain. There's a food chain. Yeah, there's habitats, natural habitats, or they know, like the hippo and the alligator. They're close in habitat. Like the hippo is going to try to drink the water, and the alligator is going to be in the water. And he's going to try to snap at him, even though the hippo, hey, you come close enough, I could bite you, and you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So there's natural habitats of like a natural order of food chain that you kind of can say is like the morality. Like the gazelle is aware of what a lion is. It doesn't have to be like, no, maybe he's kind of cool.
Right.
Like they don't have to guess. Like they know.
Right.
Deer,
instinct.
Right. Is innate in them. That's why I think it's innate in us to have some moral code, to a sense where you're almost looking for something to give you a
instilled, right?
It's almost like
instilled in you.
You're looking for someone to say this is good, this is bad, in some way or form. Even if it is yourself that you're thinking about what's good and what's bad, you innately kind of want something to be like, this is good, this is bad, because it's like then you're stuck in this limbo of what is good, what is bad. Like the animal doesn't have to choose; it already instinctually knows.
I think it's a huge sign of the times, honestly, that we sit back and ask these questions. Because if you look at let's look at the Great Depression, right? There was no people really asking this question. They were born into a religion and they went to church and they followed that religion, but there wasn't really much spirituality or questions like this. And I think that the reason for that is the same reason that it doesn't exist in the wild, is that when you're worried about survivability, when all you can think of is how to get your next meal, how to survive, how to not be attacked or eaten, or there's just constant threats to your life, you don't have time to sit back and ask these questions. And I think that that's why a lot of that is a lot more recent. You don't see things like spirituality going back to the early 1900s. That's really like since the hippies era that thought has come up.
Yeah, hippies.
And I think that that's the same reason as it is in the jungle.
And opening your mind to
exactly.
Because that's what it was.
Because you got time. You're not constantly worried about your next meal. You have a comfortability and you have time to put thought into things like that. Whereas, the people going through the Great Depression, they're just constant. I need to work. I need to find money. I need to feed my kids. I need to, there's just a constant fear. And once you remove that constant fear, that's when you start going deeper and you start thinking more, because humans
Well,
don't like being bored, and if you're
look-
bored, you're going to look further into yourself.
Look at what's going on right now. Right now, everything is about fear. There's either a fear of a war, there's a fear of what's going on in the U.S. as a whole. That again, that goes back to the control, because
Fear mongering.
like you just said, in the Great Depression, they were worried about the next meal. They're worried about if we're going to go to war again, if the war is not going to be over. Well, when there's too much time on your hands, that's when you start to develop other mindsets of like for instance, like
theologies,
gay marriage and stuff like that. Like that's where you start to expand as a society. And right now, like if you look at the government, they're trying to retract that and kind of go back to some of the old ways. And how do you do that? You put fear of, like with the ICE agents going on right now, you got fear of all this. You got fear of possibly World War III starting all the time. And that's where I feel like,
honestly, that's one of the big things that I've been struggling with recently, where I'm just like, I don't know if it's me or everybody feeling the way that I've been feeling. And I really want to say that I feel like a lot of the country is feeling the way I'm feeling, but I do always try to like check myself when I'm like, okay, this is the bad place and we need to get the hell out. I think that I stop myself and I'm like, am I just thinking that because, you know, I'm recently postpartum and that's just something that women go through postpartum? Am I just thinking that because I'm mentally ill? Like I have a lot of mental illnesses and I'm catastrophizing the world? Or does everybody else in America also feel this way? Is this fear of what's going on in today's society? Is everybody feeling this, or is this just me internalizing this, me fearing what I see? And I don't know.
I mean, I think it's also like an ignorance is bliss moment.
Yeah.
So it's like the more you're aware, like I think of it like this. I'm not afraid if I didn't know the lion was outside versus if I'm inside.
But that's
and I
the
know
problem.
The lion is outside.
But that's the problem. So like I do think that like to a certain degree, until recent, I would say the last year, I've always been, I don't want to watch the news. There's always negative stuff. I don't want it to affect me. I don't want to be in a bad mood. I don't want to be scared. I'm not going to pay attention to it. But in that example that you just gave, the lion is outside. He is going to come into your house and he is going to eat you. Whether you know it's there or not, it does exist. And I think that we've reached the point now where we have to stop. Oh, I don't feel like reading the news. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to put my head in the sand and ignore it. I don't want to do that. I want to put my head in the sand and ignore it and kind of like enjoy the bliss of ignorance is bliss.
Right.
But that doesn't change the fact that that lion's about to come into your house and eat you. And that's not going to change. And I do think that we've reached that point where we need to look at our Ring camera and we need to see that that lion is out there, because it's there. And if you don't do something about it, if you don't lock your door, if you don't fortify your windows so it can't jump through the window, it's going to be you next. And that's what I struggle with, is that I just don't know. I don't know if it's just me feeling like that or everybody is feeling like that. Because, you know, you go on social media, I go on TikTok and everybody is saying that they're feeling that way, but TikTok is a very small sample.
Algorithm also. Like once you click
Right,
on one, you're
exactly.
going to get to eventually meet your neighbors.
Right.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
So is everybody feeling this way, or is it just me? I don't know.
it's not just you. I mean, where are you get a lot of your information from TikTok? Yeah, you fact check it. But again, like he just said, the algorithm is that they're putting what
It's going to feed you what you want to.
exactly.
Right. What the way I feel, they're going to find other people that feel the way I feel and put them in my face.
Exactly. And that's why I keep going back to the whole control thing, is that
Social programming.
like we also are aware of a lot more stuff that's going on than they were in the 1920s and 1930s.
Right.
It was like you said, you're born into it.
Information.
And like I'm born into I don't know, any religion, Christianity. If I'm born into Christianity and everybody around me is Christianity, those are the people that you're going to see. But now you're seeing the other side of things because of social media, because like even with news outlets, like the news outlets controlled as well. TikTok has a lot of
free journalism.
But see, that's the thing. That's the thing, is that makes me feel like it's not just me, is that this shit really is happening. Like the Pentagon just kicked out every single news source. No news source is allowed in the Pentagon anymore, except the American-owned America One News or something like that. That is the first time pretty much in history, I want to say. They've never kicked all the news stations out of the Pentagon.
that we're aware of.
No,
because
no,
we are now
because-
seeing it in our faces.
No, because the problem is,
Oh, you
as
mean,
long
like,
as
if they
we
didn't
have written
disclose it?
history, we have news people that say, oh yeah, I was at the Pentagon today. And that's how I know this information. So, yeah, maybe it did happen sometime in history, but not in our written history, because we can track news and we can track news reporters saying, yeah, I was at the Pentagon today and I firsthand heard this or saw this.
Reporting live.
But
And now
here's the other
everyone's
thing,
kicked
too,
out.
Is that it could have happened in the 90s. It could have happened in the early 2000s. You're not going to be aware of it because guess what? You're older now. And you're not paying attention to that stuff. We're paying attention to it now because this is affecting us and we're the adults now, where when we were children, we weren't paying attention to it. So it probably happened in the 90s. It probably happened in the 2000s. Could have even happened in the 2010s. We're more of aware because one, we have a child now where we're adapting to what we want to know about. So,
or the verbiage has changed also.
Exactly. Because we're a lot more
I feel
trying
like
to
if
instill
this,
fear.
I feel like if this had happened before, it wouldn't be a big deal right now. If it had happened before, people would be aware of it and they'd be like, oh, it's fine. This happened under Clinton too. So don't worry. It'll come back. But nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying, don't worry, this has happened before.
Because again, now it's in our faces because we have an ability to go on our phone and
there's
see
more
everything.
people. I think that we have more people that would, other than our outer circle, that would, I don't think is undermining your statement. I think your statement is valid, especially if it's never happened before. But to Ken's point, if the amount of times that they actually disclose it or even had to disclose it is numerous more times, and they're just like the verbiage of how they would disclose it is quite different, or there was only a certain amount of media that was in there,
and right
media
there,
has changed so much, so it's like
that, and that's what I'm saying with that is that when, let's say this happened in the 90s, you didn't have the ability to just go on your phone
but
and
you
put
could,
it.
you
Hold on,
can.
wait. But you didn't have the ability to go out there, put it on your phone, and spit it out there. Because if you were working for a news outlet, you had to go to your news company, what Newsday or whatever it is, and you had to report it to them. And if the owner, which is controlled, the owner said, no, we're not putting that story out, that story is not getting out there. There's no other way to put it out.
But now in 2025, you would know that because we have the ability to go back and look at those stories from that time period.
Unless somebody was like...
Not all of it, though. Because if the story wasn't written about, how are you going to know? If I'm the owner of Newsday and you come to me saying, I got kicked out of the Pentagon. No, we can't cover that because again, the media is controlled.
But, so now for the next, let's say 6 months, let's say the next 6 months, there's going to be 0 stories coming out from firsthand accounts of journalists being in the Pentagon because they were all kicked out. Whereas if that happened in the 90s, we would be able to track and we'd say, wait a minute, that's super weird. Why is there this 6-month period that no journalist is giving firsthand accounts of what's happening? Why?
Would it be off record?
So
would you be there but off record?
It did happen in the 90s. Like, it's called a media blackout. It has happened before.
I know it happened one time before in history.
9/11?
No.
Oh, when?
It's around the 1930s. That's the last time it happened. I'm telling you.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I'm trying to say that this exact scenario has played out in history before, and it hasn't worked out well.
I mean, you could say it. We could edit it out if we don't want to say it, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't want to.
You're talking about the Holocaust?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm talking about this is Hitler's playbook right here, and it's terrifying. But the reason that I say that I have that fear is because a story came out that there was ICE agents that grabbed a 6-year-old autistic child and put them in zip ties and put them in the back of the car. And they were like to his dad, because he was a citizen, but the dad wasn't. And they were trying to lure him out. So like, oh, look, I got your autistic kid. Come get him. And they were trying to lure him out of the house that way. And that is terrifying because I guess maybe I wouldn't have worried so much about that, but like now I'm like, I have a kid. And what if one day that's my kid sitting in a truck zip tied to try to lure me out? This is the government. This isn't the mafia. This isn't like the cartel or so. This is the government doing this kind of stuff. And it's terrifying. So as I said, I don't know if that's just something that I personally am struggling with and I'm just the only one, or maybe a small group of people are and I'm being exposed to that small group, but it's scary to me. I don't know.
I get the sentiment.
So let's move on to another topic because we, again, tangential, and I want to move on to another topics just so we can hit a few today. What's one mystery in history that will never be solved, but you wish it could. So the question was just posed and people answered, and I wanted to get into the comments. So one of the comments is, number one, how Homo sapiens became so goddamn smart. Seriously, in all the 3.4 billion years of life on this planet, only humans have developed the ability to do what they do. As far as we know, no other creature in all of time has developed civilizations, cultures, technology, escaped Earth's gravity, nor invented pepperoni pizza. At some point, hundreds of thousands of years ago, something special happened that made humans so unique among the animal kingdom. I want to know what that something was. Sure, we have a hypothesis and theories and educated guesses, but no concrete, incontrovertible evidence of that original spark that makes a weak, hairless ape the dominant species on the planet. Why humans? Why people? Why not why was our species able to become the dominant species on the planet that could be sitting here talking to a camera on a mic that's going to reach other people by way of a human invented internet? Why? What was it about us? How did we win out? How did we excel?
You either have to go to more like a scientific route, so like evolution theory route, or which would trigger more towards that, or I guess you have to kind of go to a religious route, kind of like you were saying, like you kind of have to surface to get like a slight explanation, at least what you would want to believe in. But I think the comforting thing would be more so, why not a
God made us in his image.
right? Or like why didn't the lions beat us out? Why didn't the gorillas?
Yeah.
Opposable thumbs.
Yeah, it's like
100% because of that. Because we're
But then
able to do more
why
physically.
like why do our brains?
Okay, I'm going to tell you. When I was in the army, I got into a fight with an NCO. Legitimate fight. I will remember like it was yesterday. We were about to do PT. It's 6:30 in the morning. It's like 30 degrees outside, right? And this NCO, he's a staff sergeant, and he's sitting there and we're having a regular conversation, and he told me he didn't believe in evolution. I'm like, okay, what do you mean you don't believe in evolution? And he's like, well, no, God put us on this planet. Like he made Adam and Eve, and there was no evolution. It was just he made up people and put us here. And I'm like, you believe that? He said, evolution doesn't make any sense, and I could tell you how I can prove that evolution doesn't exist. I'm like, all right, go ahead. Tell me how you can prove evolution never happened. He goes, why are there still monkeys? If there's evolution and we evolved from monkeys, then why are there still monkeys? Why didn't all the monkeys evolve? And I face palmed so hard. And I'm just like, there's really human beings that believe that. Like, I guarantee you that Staff Sergeant will watch this. I guarantee you he'll see it and he'll be like, yeah, that was me. People really believe that it's impossible, and they can disprove evolution because those species still exist. Now, if we evolved from monkeys, if we evolved from apes, then why are there still apes? Why didn't all the apes evolve? And obviously, it's 6:30 in the morning. We're about to do PT. I can't get into, well, Darwinism and only some of them evolved because, you got the one that was taller or stronger and those mate with the others and then they go, but that doesn't mean that the other ones didn't. They just cease to exist. They don't go away. It's entirely possible for them, for some to evolve and some to stay the way they were. But that was a real argument. He, to this day, I guarantee you, believes that evolution is impossible because monkeys exist.
And also, well, I mean, to that same sentiment, there's still variations of evolution that still is present, outside of just, I guess, the evolutionary line from Darwinism, which is how that, the monkey to the man scientific theory. I think also knowing that kind of the universe and understanding being what we're made of is also things that are made up part of the universe. So like it's all encompassing, knowing where your genetics come from, what you're a part of, and how everything is a part of everything. Like you can't escape. There's no individuality in that way outside of persona and
ego.
Person. Yeah, it's like
your ego.
Yeah, your persona and your person outside of that, which I guess people would call like the soul of you, has individuality, but your makeup is everything that exists in the universe that we know of scientifically is also on Earth in the universe and us we have all the same makeup. So it's like you eventually have to have some way of saying like, yeah, you can believe in the evolutionary theory because it's like everything, the makeup is there. So
And who knows if, a million years from now, there's going to be a new species that's dominant on the planet. Do you think that the dinosaurs ever sat back and said, I wonder why it was us that became the dominant species? I think that it's entirely possible that 1,000 years from now, AI will exist. And if there is any human beings, they'll either serve AI or they will have downloaded their consciousness into AI and exist in like a alternate reality, whatever.
Like the Matrix.
But I think that we're the dominant species right now. I don't think for a second that there's never been a dominant species before. And what do they say? They say that 99.7% of all things that have ever existed on Earth just disintegrate. It's not like we know every species that has ever existed. It's not like we know everything that's ever been done. 99.7% of all things that ever have been on this earth are gone. So who's to say there wasn't a civilization before? Who's to say there wasn't dinosaurs that were accountants? We just don't know. We never will know.
Right.
So
Full theory of it.
I just think it's right now we're dominant, but I fully believe there's another species coming. There's something coming. It's not going to be us.
I feel like it is going to be AI because, and we already kind of serve AI if you think about it. Like when AI, like we are creating that, and then
that's a perspective thing, though. Do we
Yeah.
serve it or does AI serve us?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But
The
if
battery
you
would
said
be
it
us.
before. You think about Matrix.
Yeah, Matrix would.
The Matrix was AI. Like it was the
Artificial
development
intelligence.
of the machines that eventually took over, and then we kind of served them because even though we created it and it's everything that they did was created because of us, it took over, which is kind of like, if you think about it now, AI, you can't even tell what video is real and what's not except for the glitches. But guess what happens? AI gets smarter and smarter. Eventually those glitches are going to be gone.
Yeah,
So-
that I would agree. And it's in that same fact, I think it just depends on, I think the least of our worries is a falsification of video proof on certain things and making things seem, you know what I mean? Like that whole creating fake real life events. I think it more so the intelligence factor of it is like the fact that it could soon become sentient where it can think without being asked.
Independent.
Yeah, if it becomes independent, I think that would be the most dangerous thing because
I feel like we've had a million movies to tell us why it's a bad idea. We're just running in that direction.
or it leans into the theory of uploading like in the Matrix.
Consciousness.
Yeah, because if you can figure a way out to move consciousness from the body into technology,
And then if
you
you think about that,
theoretically would live forever.
what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
Are we just replaying
How
like lives? Are we in a Matrix? Are we a computer program? Are we Sims? It's so crazy to think about.
Take that idea and think now how they say that they found cell phones back in the pyramids in the certain areas. They're uncovering technology. Like they found a calculator like advanced as like a TI-83 plus or something like that. And they're finding all this. Now they're starting to find it. Eventually something got wiped out. Are we literally repeating that same history where we're going to get to a certain point and then AI wipes us out and now we're back to
like
dinosaurs.
like a full reset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a turn off the
I've always
computer?
I've
always
always
felt-
believed
yeah.
that. I've always believed that like I think that there's a certain point which evolution, like I personally, everyone's going to think I'm crazy for this. I think we started out on Mars. I really do. I think that
Why Mars of all planets?
because there's proof that there was water on Mars at some point.
So the
It had this-
sustainability factor.
I think just because like scientifically.
Yeah.
Scientifically, they can prove that Mars used to be Earth. Billions and billions of years ago, Mars had the same habitat as Earth.
And
It had water, it had grass, it had everything that Earth has. Now it's a desolate wasteland. Why?
because humans suck.
Because humans probably this probably isn't the first time humans have taken over. Humans probably existed on Mars and nuked each other, and now it's a dead planet in our solar system and just moved over to Earth and started over fresh with dinosaurs, and eventually it'll all just hit a head, and some, catastrophic event will come and take us out, and we'll start over at dinosaurs
Put
again.
it this way, with this show, The 100,
Oh yeah, I see.
that show alone, they pretty much civilization gets to a certain point, then there's a crazy war that happens, and everything is nuked, but they send the human species out up into spaceships, and they live 700 years or whatever the hell it is, or whatever time frame, doesn't matter, and then they go back down to Earth to see if it's livable again or survivable. And then now that's pretty much kind of what looks like happened with Mars now, because they came, like she said, they're finding different remains or human remains on Mars.
I don't think human remains. They're just
the
proof
rover.
that there was at one point water, that there was like an environment on
Right,
Mars.
it
I don't
was-
know. I don't think there's human remains.
I thought they
think it
found
was just
bones or something.
I don't think so.
All right, well, but right now,
I mean,
pretty
maybe I could be wrong, but I
It's
don't
one
think
of the
so.
few planets that definitely can house human life.
And
out
it's,
of
all the
it
planets.
could have in the
Mars-
past. Now it can't, but
Mars
could have.
has the atmosphere.
Atmosphere,
Of
that's the
what,
word I'm looking
what
for, atmosphere.
would have happened if a nuclear war happened?
Right. If USA versus Russia happens tomorrow and we nuke the crap out of each other and the entire planet goes desolate, that's Mars.
So are we just repeating the same thing over billions of years, of where we're just going from Earth to Mars to Mars to Earth every time it starts over, and now all of a sudden we're
17 billion years from now Mars grows back and it has grass and it has water and it has air, and they start over there, and it could just be the universe just letting you get to a certain point, and then once you hit that certain point you annihilate each other. But then who
guess I'll
knows? I
go
mean,
to-
all out in the the ether, the universe, there could be a whole different set of intelligent beings, the galactic universe, and blah 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 blah. You could go down the deepest, darkest
This
hole that
universes
just
on
never
universes
stop.
on universes on universes,
Right.
galaxies on galaxies. So it's like infinite, and it continues to spread and create.
And
It's-
maybe human beings are never meant to come into contact with that, because we're just going to continue to destroy ourselves.
Or you have the one theory, which is like there's one singular person that survives each reset, and then they would be the
The
Illuminati, the
Yeah.
one behind. Because now it's like, all right, now if I think of myself in that predicament, say you're the one, all right, I reset, you're the button presser. Like, all right, I'm seeing how far y'all can get. They're not coming to the right conclusions.
Yeah.
All right, time to reset.
Right. Well, I mean, and it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be humans destroying each other. And then eventually, let's say there was always going to be the evolution that happened. Even if, let's say, the meteor didn't take out the dinosaurs, let's say they just starved to death because of the seasons of Earth. Because, I mean, it's been proven that, yeah, climate change has something to do with it, but the Earth goes through seasons. The Earth will heat up. The Earth will cool down. The Ice Age, all that kind of stuff. That's not necessarily only because of a meteor or a catastrophic event. It's just something that happens to the Earth. Now, if you say, okay, either way, whether there was a meteor or whether, the Earth just went through one of these seasons, dinosaurs were always going to go extinct. Who's to say that there's not a specific imprint that humans are going to end up at the end of that evolutionary line? No matter how many times you do it, the DNA is just there, and it's always going to be a human. It's dinosaurs which get smaller and turn into chickens, and then the I don't know.
No, I
there's
get what you're
there's
saying.
people that are way smarter than me that can explain this way
No,
better.
I get what
but
you're saying. But I
um,
guess it would just revolve into like you're eventually going to end up at the cycle of something has to happen, and what is that something that happens?
Right.
Whether it be a god or a big bang, or a god that does the big bang, or a big bang that creates a god that then creates other things. There has to be something that happens.
Well, so there was the scientist. I wish I had an eidetic memory. I would give anything on this planet to have an eidetic memory. But there was the scientist that he said there's two theories, and they're both equally terrifying. There's the theory that there is aliens in the universe. There is other intelligent beings out there, and we just aren't able to contact them. And then there's the idea that there isn't, and we're the only one. And both of them are equally as terrifying, because if we are the only one, why are we the only one? Are we the first ones? Are we the only ones and we're supposed to spawn off and go out into the universe? The universe is so, to think about the size of the universe, like it just goes. It doesn't stop. It just goes and goes and goes and
to
goes.
your point, and which is more interesting, we know more about the universe than we know about the ocean.
Right.
Which is even crazier. Could you like
But I'm not talking about our universe. I'm not talking about like the galaxy and the Milky Way. I'm talking about the universe.
yeah, the
You go
space,
past the Milky Way. You go past
the different galaxies.
Yeah, it just goes on.
That all house giant stars.
If that expands, it just doesn't ever stop. If that exists, then why? Why hasn't intelligent life ever created itself? Why not?
Like the
That's
black,
a terrifying thought. Maybe life was never meant to happen.
the black hole alone.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of scientific theory, like the galaxy, and then black holes not knowing, like it's just a blip. You don't even know
where does it go.
where.
I mean, there's a theory that we are in a black hole right now. Did you hear that? So there was a scientific article that came out that said we have to be in a black hole right now, because if we weren't in a black hole, scientifically speaking, when we look out to the universe, right, and we see other galaxies, there should be alternating ways that the galaxies rotate. One galaxy over here should rotate in a clockwise fashion. That galaxy over there should go counterclockwise. That one should go counterclockwise. That one should go clockwise. They're all going clockwise. And the only way that would make any sense is if we're all in a black hole right now.
I was thinking in terms of, and I'm just playing devil's advocate in this, with the black holes and that same theory. If I think I was kind of like mixed the both to see kind of like a thought process. Say, I'll continue on the same lines of A1. If I'm creating life, right, and I don't want if I want to control how much they're able to expand to a certain point, and I create a black hole to house in how much, like, if we're in a black hole, that means you can't get out unless I say so. Think of it in that way. That means
time is distorted.
Right.
1 second in the real, let's say the real world, the real universe.
Right. Outside
1
of the black
second is
hole.
800 billion years inside the black hole.
Right.
So who's to say that what we're experiencing is in,
A
8
containment
billion
of
years,
space.
8 billion years on Earth equals a millisecond out in the rest of the universe, and we'll just never know that because we're in this black. It's just crazy to think about, man.
like almost like an exiled.
Yeah.
Like I exile your galaxy, I guess you could say. Like you're exiled, and you would kind of get into that explanation of Mars. Like we kept going to planet because we're exiled in this black hole, and you're kind of like, all right, we got to keep jumping to planet to planet, and then each of these planets surrounding in that line is just how far we've gotten to. And then we got to Earth, and it was just like, all right, we're here now. And then,
I mean, and if you get any closer, then you have like fire planets.
You're the sun.
So
Uranus.
you got
Neptune,
Venus,
Pluto.
you got Venus, and then Mercury, and those are like fire giants, right? Those aren't like planets that you can step on.
Mercury
ones is a gas,
Venus
Saturn
is gas.
Saturn.
Mercury's gas, but it's hotter.
Right. So that's what I mean. So now are we at the end of the line now that we're on Earth? Because those two planets are so close to the sun that you'll never be able to live on them. There will never be
Mercury,
a ground you can step on.
Mercury is, so we're Earth. We're 2 planets away from the sun.
Yeah. My very educated mother just served us 9 pies.
Yep. So Neptune is at the very end. Uranus,
No,
Saturn.
No, Pluto's
Pluto.
Pluto's
Pluto's
they
the
took
one-
out
yeah,
Pluto.
yeah.
Pluto
Pluto's
ain't
not
not a planet. So
No, it is a planet
No.
again.
No, it's not.
No, it's
They-
a
They
rock.
took it out.
They said
Neil
it was,
deGrasse Tyson took it out.
Yeah, but I thought they in
They
like
play with
2018,
it. Yeah,
in
they play with it
2018
whether
they
it
fixed
is
it.
or isn't. But
Sometimes it's a rock, sometimes it's
And
a
then-
big rock.
And then Pluto apparently is a moon to something else now, like Planet X or some shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jupiter and Saturn.
Jupiter and Saturn are the biggest planets, and like Jupiter is like completely hot.
Okay, so let's move on to the next comment. So the next comment is, okay, so remember the original question is, what is a mystery that could be answered but probably won't? And what is the biggest mystery that you would like to know the answer to?
Right.
So the next answer is a few. What was the Tunguska event? How were the Great Pyramids of Egypt built? Same for Machu Picchu. Still waiting for a reasonable explanation for the Longyu Caves in China. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I have done zero research on any of those things except the pyramids. I have done some research on the pyramids, but I don't know what this person is referencing when they say Machu Picchu. I thought Machu Picchu was just like a mountain, maybe a mountain range. I don't know what they're talking about.
Is
I don't
Machu
know what a
Picchu
long
the
U
wood?
caves is.
Oh, isn't that the?
Is Machu Picchu the
I thought it was
where
a mountain.
the people go into the woods and like it's like where they die or something like that in China or Japan?
It's the one where everyone takes a picture on the top of it.
It's a mountain.
Yeah, but that's the one where they have the Machu Picchu has the
What's the Long U caves? Longyou. See what
15th
that is?
century Inca in Peru, renowned for its advanced architecture and stunning location at an elevation of 7,970 feet. It was built for the Inca Emperor Pachacuti, and its construction involved in sophisticated techniques like stonework, agricultural terrace, and even though the Incas lacked metal tools and the wheel, which was largely unknown until its rediscovery. And
so if there was like long ago civilizations where they found cell phones, it sounds like that would be the civilization where the cell phones were found.
So think about it this way though, like
royal estate essentially.
The stonework by itself. We don't have the ability to cut the stones for the pyramids now.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That's a
no. But to position them the way they position them, like
yes, we do. I think that there's some conspiracy theories that I buy into. The capabilities that we have right now are so advanced and so far beyond what we'll ever actually do. We could build pyramids like with our eyes closed.
You definitely could build a pyramid. But they're tombs.
But you got to think, you got just the intricacy of how the pyramids are laid out and the tunnels and all that stuff.
Oh, I fully believe that
labyrinth?
I think that the pyramids were energy sources. I think that the pyramids were built to harvest energy, not like soul energy. I'm talking like actual energy. Like they found proof that some ancient Egyptian villages had energy. They had light bulbs. Like that is a fact. And the only way that could be true is if these pyramids were built to get energy from the sun, like solar energy.
Right.
I think it was like way before the time of like Thomas Edison taking a kite and going and whatever, finding electric. I think that so it's so crazy to go into like the longitude and latitude of these pyramids. They're like perfect. It's a perfect circle. If you take these pyramids and you go around the world, it's exactly on the right longitude and latitude. You could go all day into the conspiracy theories, but the theory that we don't have the capability right now to build a pyramid is just asinine. We could build, if we wanted to, we could build a stairway to heaven. The amount of capabilities that we have right now is crazy. And I think that people pass that theory along like, oh, we can't even build it now with the specifications and the rocks. Have you guys ever seen those machines that are like on the ocean where they're like, that we could literally build an island?
Alone. Yeah, oil rigs alone.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's crazy. So the idea that we couldn't build, and you also got to think that if you look at like ancient Egypt, they have where these stones, they have ones that are incomplete that slaves have spent 20 years on, just like etching them out and getting them out of the ground, and they left them unfinished because it cracked in the middle. So it definitely was a generations long effort. I don't question whether they were built. I question why they were built, and I fully believe it has something to do with energy. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, and also take into their religious beliefs and what they kind of, pharaohs and why they had because their tombs were there and they wanted to be buried with their wealth as well. So I guess aside from the fact of which can be hidden knowledge, I guess you kind of have to also base off, it's like at any era of society, there's people that know what's going on and people that are doing what they're told. So it's like how many of those people during that era knew what they were building and people that knew what they were building.
Right.
What about going along with that too? What about the documentation of the guy who was the general that was in the military that documented going beyond the North Wall?
we're going into flat Earth theory.
No, I'm not even talking about flat Earth here. I'm just
You
talking.
are. That's flat Earth.
I'm just talking about why
no,
are we not?
I'm not saying that.
But
the
that's a
flat Earth
mystery.
theory is not the flat. At this point, flat Earth theory is not the idea that the Earth is flat and it doesn't have a curve.
It's the
right
idea
now.
of
I think
the civilizations being beyond the North Wall.
Right. So there's this idea that, have you heard of this?
You would have to explain it.
So okay, so there's this theory that it's called the flat Earth theory. Did you hear about the flat Earth thing where like people believed that the Earth was flat?
Yeah.
Because if I throw a ball up, it comes back down, not over there. Because if there was a curved Earth, it would go over there. That's not. So now it's kind of evolved into there's an ice wall, right? So like let's say Antarctica or whatever, North Pole, as north as you can go on our globe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wall of ice, and if you go beyond that there's all of this land that exists on Earth that our government is hiding from us.
That all the UN was formed to hide. That's why around the same time that this article came out, the UN was established, because it was like you're not allowed to go up there. Like there's bases there that.
Well, yeah, Antarctica is very, very heavily controlled. Nobody can go there. That's a fact.
You used to be able to up until this point, and then like this guy in the military, I forget his name, but he wrote like a memoir of his experience there working on those bases and the fact that you can't go past there, like that's why like, oh, there's a fear of the North Sea. Yes, the North Sea is really bad, but like that's part of that whole theory as well, that like because like we have the ships and stuff that exactly. And then you got, when you go to the South Pole, apparently there's a hole there as well, and that's where like aliens come up, and like then you got the oceans where
there's the theory now that the Grand Canyon connects to India, and they like have people that were walking from India, and like because obviously we are not attached to India, people should not be able to walk from India to America. So and that's like there's these people,
Pangea.
Right, yeah, Pangea, but I mean we never experienced that. That was way before any kind of life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's these dudes that were walking, and they were walking in India, and then all of a sudden they were walking in America, and they said we never took a plane, we went through the Grand Canyon. So there's a theory that the Grand Canyon connects.
So like this
apparently there's portals all over the place that you can go from one place to another, which is
I'm glad you brought that up. I met someone who had this is the first person I met. He was an online friend, played video games together. But his life, how he explained it. Now, at first I was like, I didn't think he was crazy or anything, because how someone explains it, they explain it so matter of fact that I can't deny his experience, because the way he's saying it is basically this. He had a belief system because of what he's seen, that he was a supposed government baby, that he was taken from his parents, and he was essentially like there was a underground people, and he was a part of those underground people that were used as test subjects.
Okay.
And
like Mangala shit.
Yeah, like he's experienced. He was like relating, like, yo, I remember when I was on the table, them experimenting on me, and them having. He said he said he had one experiment, and he was kind of basically going back and forth between like being captive and then getting captive and getting experimented on. And one of the experiments had left him where it was almost like he was dying and being brought back to life, and dying and being brought back to life, and dying.
Isn't that like Captain America's backstory?
I
think so.
Not Captain. No, he wasn't dying and being brought
or
back
there
to
was
life.
somebody in
there
X-Men.
is, yeah.
The
I
X-Men.
think it is Captain America.
The X-Men too. Like
no, I think it is Captain.
Oh, you
America.
mean when they had Wolverine?
No. I think it is Captain America's origin story, that he was like a government experiment, and
I mean that's
they
what
made
all
him
the
strong.
X-Men were government experiments. But
yeah,
Captain America, I think, is the one where they literally brought this man to the brink of death, if I'm not mistaken.
I know Wolverine had that happen to him when he was in
so
the
this
war.
guy
War
that you
II.
met is saying that was real. That's what happened to him.
Yeah, he explained how he was like, yo, there are underground people, there's a civilization underground, and that was like portals.
If you think that that's true, do you think that the government or whoever held him there would ever let one escape to tell the truth?
They won't just.
It was a long time since I talked to him, but he could explain everything to a T. Like almost like if you were explaining your trip to the grocery store. Like you could explain your trip to the grocery store, and I could say like, oh, you definitely went to the grocery store because the way you're saying it.
Mhm.
That's how when he told me, it was like it was so
How
detailed.
old were you
when I met him?
when the last time he told you this crazy story?
Oh, this is.
Were you old enough to like?
Yeah, I was like 21.
Oh, okay. So you were like reasoning age, not like 7.
No,
where it's
no,
like,
no,
oh,
no,
no.
No. He was a grown man that lived in.
No. Not was he? Were you a grown?
Yeah.
Okay.
I already was like 21 at the time, 21,
Okay.
22.
Just making sure you're not like this wasn't like a 5-year-old.
Oh no,
You
no,
wasn't
no.
telling this story to a 5-year-old.
No,
you know?
no.
Okay, good. You were okay. Keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, he explained pretty much all the like how his health problems came about because of that.
I just find it crazy because I'm like, if that was seriously going on, if that was real, why would one be able to?
I forgot how he
who
told
believes
me.
it?
Of course, I mean,
Because
yeah,
like I'm hearing the story and I'm like, yo, this dude sounds like off
Yeah.
of his bonker, off
Off
of
his rocker.
Yeah,
That's why I
rocker.
wish if I could get in contact, I would definitely have him as like a guest to kind of explain that because and the way like I said, the way he explained it to me was like so matter of fact, but he wasn't saying it in a way like
was he like, yeah? Anyways, got some rock, man. Like, was it one of those?
nah.
Okay.
He
Just
was
making
it
sure.
wasn't one of those people
Because
like
I've had some of those people tell me some stories, man. Not gonna lie to you, when I was a kid, I was on the ground looking under beds because one of those people were fully convinced that there was a raccoon in my room, and I was looking for this raccoon, but the raccoon didn't exist. Like,
right.
So
Like it would hide when you looked at it,
N-
essentially. Like
right.
in your mind, like
no,
why is
but
he-
like this dude drugs.
right.
Fully convinced that this raccoon was in the room. I spent an hour looking for this raccoon before my mom got home and was like, "What are you
So
doing?" I was like, "We're looking for the raccoon." She's like, "Get the fuck up and get out of this room."
because
right now."
like so there's like not self-fulfilling prophecy, but like there's like self-created prophecy, I guess, where like you have like an idea when you're young and then you just don't ever let it go. Like you don't ever mature out of it, I guess. Like, all right, so I watched a couple movies and I'm like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Like, and then you start to adapt that personality. And
Right.
then as you grow,
Manifestation.
Right. You
is
start-
that what that is? Yeah, okay.
You see what you wanna
when
see.
exactly. So you start manifesting it, and then over time, and the more and more you tell a story, the more and more you believe it. So the more and more it becomes like a true story to you that
Right.
anybody in the world
Right.
is going to
You,
believe
you would pass a lie detector test.
Yeah,
because you believe it.
Right.
But really, you just watch Captain America one too many times.
But like that,
But it is possible. I would definitely be interested in.
I got we used to play video games all the time together. But yeah, his name was Knox. His nickname. Forgot his real
Yeah,
name.
see if you could find him. I
Fort
would
Knox.
definitely be interested in talking. Okay, so the next comment here is we all know how the pyramids were built. The mystery is why. Was the Great Pyramid military high ground for defending Cairo? Was Stonehenge a football stadium? Were the Nazca lines running racetracks?
It says that for Stonehenge is a key feature. Its alignment with the sun. The sunrise on the summer solstice shines directly onto the monument, and the winter solstice sunset is visible through the entrance.
Okay.
So it's
So same kind of theory as the pyramids, where they are on the right longitude and latitude to
right.
harvest energy from the sun. And that's not even like a conspiracy theory. That's just like
There's a
like
giant
that's
watch,
like
essentially.
believing in spoons in ancient Egypt. Like they figured out they were so mathematically further along than we are because I mean realistically religion put us into a black age where we just stopped going past a certain point because we believe it would be religiously incorrect. You know, if we didn't have that, we could have been so much further along. Okay, so the next comment is, yes, who wrote the stories and why? Just for entertainment? Oh, because the first one was the existence of gods, any of them. And the next comment was, yes, who wrote the stories and why? Just for entertainment? As a fake genealogy to gain kudos? Or are the objects and texts we interpret as gods all mistranslations of someone else, like nature or police?
COVID had they deleted my sense of smell. They got me.
Did
They
it?
got me. Yeah.
You got COVID?
Yup.
I never got COVID.
So when they poison everybody, I
You
don't
know-
get to smell it now.
RFK said that the COVID was developed to avoid Ashkenazi Jew.
Ashkenazi Jew.
Ashkenazi.
That's like a Super Saiyan Jew. What's going on?
So Robert F. Kennedy said, he said this on a mic in front of people that the COVID virus was developed in a way that the Ashkenazi Jews could not get COVID. And nothing ever made more sense in my life because I got some heavy Ashkenazi Jew in me and I never got COVID. And I was in the military when COVID came out. And I was in an MP battalion where we were right back to work. We had like 3 weeks off. Everyone, the whole world went down for like, I don't know, 6, 8, 9 weeks.
Yeah.
We were down for 3 weeks. And then we were right back to like around everybody.
And we were rotating, working. Me and her were in the same battalion. So like there was like, every other day? We were on like an AB schedule. So like we didn't have that many people working, but it was like, there was days where like I would have to go into work, she would be home. She would go into work, I'd be home.
But that's not my point. My point is I was exposed to a lot of people and everybody was popping up with COVID. I have to this day in 2025, I have never tested positive for COVID.
Same.
And I think that's because I am Ashkenazi Jew.
So. And this is from
RFK.
And that was because COVID has always existed. Not always existed, but it had previously existed for what it was before. It was the whole Chinese espionage.
Blah, blah, yeah.
Right. So it wasn't like it became a buzzword at the time because of how it developed. But COVID previously had existed.
Well, so I guess I don't know where he was going with that. Honestly, I didn't read the whole report, but he was going somewhere with like, I don't know, Wuhan developed this virus in a lab. And when they developed it, it was developed specifically to avoid the Ashkenazi Jewish people. And like I've done ancestry DNA things and I'm heavy duty Ashkenazi Jew. So
developing something that would only take out certain people.
Everyone but us certain people.
Right. I mean, that would be like...
And I know that I am that whatever.
That'd be stronger than a nuke.
Yeah.
Because...
And then the Ashkenazi Jew would be the only people left standing. And if I know I am that...
else. And it doesn't destroy like civilization around you. It just takes out everybody. Because we also at that same time, there was a lot of reports coming out on like overpopulation at the same time. So how do you affect the entire world?
Which is also another buzzword because at what level there's overpopulation in cities but not technically planetary overpopulation. So it's like condense of amount of people in a city group, there could be overpopulation, but entirety of the world that you can live in is not an overpopulation because just counting Texas alone would give you an estimate that it's not possible.
It's more about the resources and stuff like that versus like actually not having space to live.
Yeah. And the resources would then be heavily based on a financial barrier rather than it being can you make the resource? Because the resource can be made. It's just like, which is crazy.
I'm just going to read this CNN article because it's super interesting. Okay. So CNN put out an article. It said, independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. defended himself Friday from accusations of anti-Semitism while repeating unfounded claims about COVID-19 and vaccines. In an interview with CNN's Katie Hunt, Kennedy, an avid opponent of COVID-19 vaccines and public health policies that were intended to reduce the spread of the virus, pushed back on the notion that his previous remarks about COVID-19 that mentioned Jewish ancestry and history were anti-Semitic. So pretty much he's saying it's not anti-Semitic, it's a fact. Asked about his comments from July in which he said COVID-19 was ethnically targeted to spare Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people, Kennedy acknowledged that some people could be disturbed by the comments, but he said he believed they certainly weren't anti-Semitic. I wish I hadn't said them. What I said was true. The only reason I wouldn't talk publicly about this is that I know that there's people out there who are anti-Semitic and can misuse any information. Ashkenazi Jews trace their roots to Central and Eastern Europe and represent a majority of the U.S. Jewish population. While there are disproportionate rates of COVID-19 illness and death across different demographics, this has not been attributed to genetics or religion. Kennedy also defended his comments from 2022 in which he compared the COVID lockdowns to Nazi Germany, arguing that even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. At the time, Kennedy's wife, actress Cheryl Hines, condemned his remarks as reprehensible and insensitive. Kennedy said his wife was wrong to criticize the comments and blamed the media for taking his remarks out of context. She is not right, but it was something that needed to be said at the time, he said. But Robert F. Kennedy is also the same person that said Tylenol causes autism. So, but it's just interesting to think about because I always thought it was so weird that like I didn't shelter in place. I didn't like quarantine or not go near people. I was around a lot of people during the COVID pandemic. I didn't get vaccinated and I never got COVID. So the thought that like it was genetically engineered, it kind of made a little sense just because I had what he was saying in my DNA. So I don't know. Maybe there was something to it. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess if you also think about it, it's like, I think about it like this. You still say, aside from the people he's talking about, right? Say if it's a different group of people for all intents and purposes. There is a group of people called the Marsians or whatever, right? And they developed the Marsians COVID-19 and it targets all people that aren't Marsians. The objective wouldn't just be to take out those people that are not Marsians, because even if you take out those people and then you infiltrate the entirety of what civilization is, there still wouldn't be enough Marsians to fulfill. So you still have to repopulate. Now, if you were in need of trying to make the civilization in your ideal world, you would use the non-Marsians as almost like slave mine to continue the things you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you eventually still going to be the dominant people of the world would be the Marsians, but outside of that, you would still use those people that aren't as
right. So you're saying it's not like they were trying to wipe out everyone that's not Ashkenazi Jewish or Chinese,
right?
Just that they wanted.
It could be a version of almost still chemical warfare, but on the terms of what if you can make a chemical that is in the body that affects the body, but I have the cure, or I have the thing. I can take it has the ability to activate and take away symptoms and take away sense of smell, sight, even. Well, if I can have something in that COVID-19 that would be able to take away all your senses, and you would have to rely on the person that has the cure,
right,
to get the side effects away. So you got to get the shots. So who controls the shots? And if you to get the shots, you got to sign away. And what are you signing away?
Right.
So it's like, I would think it would be, if it was a thing, it would lean into more control, because that would be way more powerful. You know what I mean? Almost similar to, I guess you can say, in the Nazi regime, they were still killing a lot of Jews, but they were also using them for experiment. So it's like, I'm not going to experiment on the people that I presume are better than in their racist way. They were still using the Jews for many different things.
Right.
You know, same with like slaves. I'm better than you, but hey, I need you to go cut the grass.
Right. You're necessary. I don't want to wipe you out, but I'm going to make it so that I have power over you. Right.
Yeah.
Turn
the taste to more of like an animalistic.
Do you think there's any merit to what I feel like the Chinese thing is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because China got rocked by COVID. Like they quarantined for longer than anybody, and they lost probably more than anybody.
So I wouldn't say, you can't really say. I feel like China is an easy scapegoat because it's like your neighbor to the right where you're suspicious of. Oh man, the neighbor over there.
Right.
But in reality, it's really the neighbor that's smiling in your face. Yeah, man.
China,
I don't know,
China was also on a ban though from having babies like at that time too.
No,
so like
no.
That
overpopulation.
That ended in the 90s.
I thought that came back up.
No, that ended in the 90s.
I know a lot of in Asia, like in Japan, they have they're declining in birth. Like they signing up people. Hey, come over here.
Yeah, the whole world right now is experiencing a birth shortage.
Which is like, is it the lack of affordability? Because Japan's culture is obviously very workaholic.
China ended its one-child policy in 2016.
Okay.
And replacing it with a 2-child policy and later a 3-child policy in 2021.
Okay.
So you're limited. Now that leads me to guess, like, right? China's interesting because it's like you have the whole theory, or not even really theory, with Yao Ming, how Yao Ming's parents they both were the tallest woman and tallest man, and they just kind of persuaded them to make a baby. And that happened to be Yao Ming. That's how he's that tall. Both of his parents were insanely tall. It's not like his mom is really short and his dad's really tall and he got his height from, like, they're both insanely really tall for him to be more than 7 feet tall.
Okay.
So it's like, it's almost like
I'm guessing that's
putting
Yao Ming is involved in the Ming Dynasty.
No, that's a basketball player.
Oh.
Yeah, Yao Ming. I mean, that's all. I mean, Yao Ming, but
I'm over here like thinking of like ancient. All right, sorry.
yeah.
Let's move on to the next comment.
Go ahead.
The next comment, JFK assassination. I don't believe for 1 second that Oswald fired the fatal shot. Kennedy was in a kill box, and obviously a fatal shot came from forward right. That man had a laundry list of groups that wanted him dead. I personally think it was a coup by Johnson, either directly ordered or tactically approved. I don't think we'll ever know what really happened because there are so many theories that no one will believe, even if the truth comes out one day. Next comment in response to that. The agent in the car behind JFK accidentally shot JFK while he was pulling his rifle to shoot back at Oswald. The driver floored the vehicle while the agent was pulling out his weapon, causing it to go off. If that isn't exciting enough, there are plenty of conspiracy theories a mile long. I'm going with Occam's razor on this one. This explains the cover-up, the magic bullet theory, etc. If the public knew the truth, can you imagine? Possible civil war. Right before JFK was shot in the head, Oswald hit him in the neck. They will never release those files. Don't believe Trump. The response to that, I'm not disagreeing with you, but the pink mist out of the back of his head is rather convincing that it might have been the driver. JFK, I think, is one of the most fascinating things. His assassination, I think it's one of the most fascinating things. It's kind of like Jimmy Hoffa, where he's just gone. JFK is so interesting to me because it was so public. JFK, I mean, so was Abraham Lincoln, but that just wasn't the level. I mean, Abraham Lincoln was, and that's so, have you ever read into like Abraham Lincoln and JFK and the similarities that they had?
Lincoln was shot in from a boot or something like that, right? Where like
John Wilkes Booth.
And then there was a dude that shot.
Yeah, so like
the Lincoln
the
Center
the person that killed Lincoln was also killed the same way that Oswald was killed. Because Jack Ruby killed Oswald killed JFK, if you believe the story. Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK. Then, when he was going to be taken to jail, Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald. Jack Ruby. I mean, side note, guys, I don't. If you're here from my other channel, you know what my thoughts are on that. Jack Ruby was very clearly and very well established on paper, 100% a mafia member. Take that for what it is, and Robert F. Kennedy was running amok at the time, just taking out the mafia everywhere. And I think that, that's just, I'm interested in the mafia, so I go the mafia angle, but I 100% believe that was a mafia hit. And it was on behalf of Lucky Luciano and Joe Adonis, baby. Anyway, any thoughts on JFK?
JFK, man, by the time JFK happened, man, I was somebody's sperm cell down the line, man. You know what I'm saying? I was floating around somewhere for pops, you know what I mean? So I don't have a direct angle because during that time in school, they would talk about it in the American history, but they didn't really, the history books when I was going to school, they really just, all right, bro got assassinated. Okay. And we don't know who did it. This is kind of who did it. But yeah, it was almost like a murder mystery. So the teacher didn't get into discussions of
you should read up on that. You would find it so interesting. Yeah. Read up on the assassination of JFK and the information on Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby. Oh God, you'll fall down a rabbit hole. I promise you. If you're interested in like rabbit holes and stuff, conspiracies, go down that rabbit hole. So recently in 2022, the FBI released some paperwork because I think we've talked about this before, right? Like how the FBI releases documentation like once everybody involved is dead, right? So the FBI just recently, I think in 2022, released the paperwork about the JFK assassination. Now, 99.9% of America won't go on and actually read all of that, but I am not 99.9% of America. I did go on and I did read it. And from what I could gather, what they were trying to make you think in these FBI documents is that they were trying to set up Lee Harvey Oswald as a Cuban spy. Because, okay, so now let's go down the conspiracy rabbit hole for a minute. We're about to end this episode, but let's go down the conspiracy rabbit hole for a minute, okay? Bay of Pigs. You know what that is?
No.
So the Bay of Pigs was an attack from America where we were trying to take out Cuba, the Fidel Castro, okay? Now, Fidel Castro is, I think, communism. I don't know if it was communism or what. He had some government type that we didn't like. So we wanted to take out him.
Right.
But we didn't want to go to war. So we just did all of these petty, stupid little things that was just in the service of taking out the leadership of Cuba. Because, I mean, I could sit here and talk about this all day. Meyer Lansky had billions of dollars worth of casinos in Cuba. And then all the Cuban people were just getting destroyed. They were starving to death on the streets while American tourists went over there and like gambled millions of dollars away. It was ridiculous. So eventually the coup happened where Fidel Castro stepped up and said, absolutely not. The president at the time in Cuba was a guy named Batista. And Batista he had a deal with Meyer Lansky and America, and he was like letting America pretty much own Cuba while the Cuban citizens were starving to death on the streets. When Fidel Castro came up, he took Batista out, Batista robbed the country and then left. Castro was very anti-American. He hated America, hated them. And because of that, he came up with communism, and we just kind of like use Cuba as a case study of like how communism can go wrong, right? Why communism is bad. We don't mention the fact that, it's kind of our fault that Cuba went down because we imposed sanctions and embargoes on them that just broke them off at the knee.
Right.
So the whole point of that is that the Bay of Pigs was an attack that was pretty much, it was set up by America, and it was supposed to take out Fidel Castro without starting a war, without it being a United States mission, right? So they have proved that the mafia was involved in this. CMG Ancona and Carlos Marcello, a whole bunch of people were approached by the CIA and asked to take part in the Bay of Pigs. Every time one of these guys was about to go testify in front of a committee about this, they just, randomly showed up dead in their kitchen. It happens. And it was like, oh, well, they're in the mafia. They got hit. That's just what happens. But that's not no, absolutely not. But, my whole point of that was that the government showed that they were not above using criminals in furtherance of their war efforts. So if you go in and you read the FBI paperwork on JFK, you can definitely see a trend of the FBI trying to make you think that Lee Harvey Oswald was a Cuban spy. They have up, down, left, and right. They have paperwork of him going to Cuba, meeting with Cuban officials, going to the American embassy in Cuba. It's all Cuban. And it's definitely written that way because they wanted, there was a plan. I think recently they came out and it was proven that they were planning to bomb Miami. There was a full-fledged plan to take out Miami and blame Cuba for it, so start a war so that we could like justify going to war with Cuba because like none of the American people wanted to go to war with Cuba. So
fear mongering.
Like 9/11, Well, we don't want to go to war with Iraq. Okay, cool. Let's kill 3,000 of your people. See if you want to go then. Worked bad gangbusters, man. My point is that I think that I personally believe it was the mafia. But if you're interested in like conspiracy theories and stuff, go look up the JFK assassination and Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby and what happened there. It's, oh God, you could spend weeks. I think I did spend weeks, right? I like didn't work. I put everything aside and literally just, as soon as I opened my eyes, I pulled up these FBI documents and I was reading them until I went to sleep. And it was all I thought about. It was all I talked about. Like, it was insane how much is in that paperwork of JFK's assassination. Because it was a sitting president. He was president of the United States when he got assassinated. Yeah. It's wild. So, if you're interested, go look into it.
I would say on the side note of that, from the main point that we were talking about with like the things that you would want to question, like the answer to the
main mysteries that you could know the answer to, yeah.
Would you say based on that all adjointing of those questions all lead to like essentially somewhat of the same answer? Because it's like once you answer one, like once you unlock one door, it gives you enough information to be like, well, if that happened and this happened and they did this for these reasons.
To a degree. I
Not
think
every single
some.
thing.
Yeah, I think like
from the social part of it, and then
Yeah, so like I would say like modern history versus ancient history, right? So
Right.
like if you look at ancient history and you say, okay, yes, the pyramids were built to be harvests of energy from the
Right.
sun. Then you could kind of go out from there. Okay, well then it does make sense that XYZ happened. Now modern, if you find proof that JFK was killed by the government, let's say because the government didn't really love JFK so much, could you go out from there and say, okay, well, the Bay of Pigs was a sting operation, and just kind of keep going out from there? And then once you get to a point where it's like, okay, well, we have paperwork that they plan to bomb Cuba to get America behind a war. Doesn't that in your head cement that the government could do 9/11? You're right. It does. There is A plus B equals C in all of
Right.
these conspiracies.
Because at some point, once you have the conclusion, like a conclusive, like this is for certain, this is how it happened, you start to learn that all the people involved, and then you see their decision makings and their lives and who they affect, and then how their money becomes this much from this much, and their family members, and you start to see like, wait, you have the last name, then you have the same last name, and you have the same, and it starts to become like,
yeah, you go down the Rockefeller, you'll never come out. You'll never crawl out from that black hole. The
'cause it's like-
Rockefeller hole.
yeah, or people of the Black Rock family, and then all that is like,
Yep.
all right, like how
Johnson and Johnson.
yeah, it's like, and then you have like the Walmart family. You have all these insanely wealthy people that have no spotlight, and then you have people that are like non-pro government or anti-government, and where it's like, well, who's the people that don't get fired? Who hires and who fires? Like what's the line of, you get a new president, but who's hiring other than the people's elective votes? Who doesn't get fired? Who can't get fired?
The government, yeah.
You say it's like all-encompassing, the government.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But it's like,
You don't even have to be an elected official to be in the government. Look at Elon Musk and Doge, and
Right.
they were just talking about we might have to reissue every American's social security number now because of the data breach caused by Doge. Elon Musk was never elected, and I think that the Johnson and Johnson people, the BlackRock, all of those people, they're government. They were never elected. They don't stand on a podium and give speeches to the public,
right.
but they're government. And if you
Because you could do a
don't-
figurehead.
Yeah.
Like, this is, all right, this is what you need.
APAC and
Right.
the money behind, they literally turn senators into puppets. It's crazy.
Because all you would need is a puppet. So why would you not want, like, it's almost like I could just send somebody.
Mhm.
It's like,
You don't want it to be you. You don't want it to be Anthony Weiner who's sexting 16-year-olds. Like, you don't want that to be you. You want to be the person controlling him, because you're
Right.
doing your dirt. Everyone has dirt. Everyone has dirt. You don't want to be in the public view when your dirt comes out. So
if you can, if it isn't like feasible at that level to be in that type of family, because it's deeper than just like a mafia family where it's like such and such, and
oh yeah, for sure.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because
And they test it out too. Because like, look at this past election.
Mm.
Nobody elected Harris to be the front runner for. So like, they test things out always to see how much they can get away with before eventually it just happens. Because like, you're supposed to elect the election, like the one that's whoever the two front runners are for each party. We're supposed to elect them. And Kamala Harris was never actually elected by the Democratic Party.
Right.
That's not the way politics work.
That's what happened here.
In terms of running,
Yeah, in terms of running, like
That's how it goes. The Democratic and the Republican National Party choose every year. They
But
chose
it's
everyone.
they're chosen by the people's vote.
Oh, you poor sweet little puppy. Can I pet you?
Oh my god.
So cute.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's what it's
Mhm.
supposed. What do
But I
you mean,
mean-
puppy? Like that's literally what
so
even
cute.
they put out.
but they're not.
I know
gonna-
we don't choose it. Oh, I know they choose it.
Yeah.
Like, but technically they
I know
put
what you
people
mean,
on the
though.
ballot, and then
No, I
they
know what
move
you-
to
I
the
know.
next step of the election. But
Yeah.
this year was the first, or this past election was the first time that they physically announced that.
Well, because
she
if you think
was
about
put
it,
there.
in history, it would have been Biden running.
Exactly.
You're right.
It's always the current sitting president. That's why she wasn't like chosen by vote or anything because it was supposed to be the sitting president, but he deemed himself not able to do it.
But they were supposed to, because
it's not a midterm election for a president is not the same thing as an out at the end of the 8 years election. So that's why, I mean, that's not some crazy thing. That's just.
But I can see what
it was a test, but it was a test to see if they could have gotten away with, see if people would pick up on it. Because if you notice, that became a big headline, and that's what it goes to.
They were
puppet.
Exposing Camilla for every single. They was like, bro, first of all, you really not black. You just a person of color, and it was just like, yeah, you not ethnically, no. Cool. And it was just like
it's crazy that matters. Like nobody looked into Trump's background. Nobody talked about the fact that his grandfather was an immigrant. Like that. Why is it only when you get like a little too much melanin that we have to start talking about your background and are you a person of color or African American? Like why?
They were trying to justify it because it's in the hive mind. It's no different when people were trying to justify or not justify. Barack Obama was like the first. Obviously, he was the first black president. But because he was half, right? He was a mix of both mom and dad being black and white, that people would justify, other people would justify, and then they would vote for him only because of that very reason. We want him to be president because he is black. And I think some people with the Harris and Hillary were voting in the sheer spite of some might say feminism, and some might say just the idea, like, no, we want to have a woman be president for the first time, and to clear that off the checklist. And to Ken's point, is kind of what he was going on. Is they were trying to, and his point, almost feel like, all right, could we test the waters? Could we see if we push her to the forefront? How many people can we gravitate towards and get on the ball of her verbiage, her thought process, her policies?
See, I think he's saying is we're gonna see if we can get away with installing an alternate president, where if it should be Biden because Biden's president. We're gonna see if we can get away with getting rid of Biden, pushing him to the side, and installing our own choice. Where
openly installing,
installing instead of. Where if this was a democratic process, there would have been 15 candidates, and we the people would have voted down like a basketball tournament. We the people voted down to one person.
Right, I got you.
Where he's saying they were seeing if they could get away with just installing the democratic person. But I still maintain that wouldn't have mattered because it would have bin Biden.
But I mean, in that point of them doing that for that purpose of seeing if they could, I'm saying if they're doing that, then what would you install for the purpose of doing that in the first place? You know what I mean? If you're going to install anyone, what is the then propaganda that's going to come along with the person that gets installed? So I'm going to see if I can install it, right? Mm-hmm. So then when I do, and I know I can install it, what I'm going to put, because it's going to be more than just
that starts getting into the where for sale,
like APAC,
I mean, like, and all of these packs.
Like what puppet? If I'm going to put a puppet, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, right now, let's be realistic. We have an APAC led. It's Trump said himself. It's not anything negative. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but Trump said himself that he was the most friendly towards Israel than any other president had ever been. Does that mean it's controlled? I mean, I don't know, but that's not something that he shies away from. So I think what he's saying is that
North Korea being friendly with Russia,
exactly.
He gets
so
along
now
with
if
all the opposing,
so now if Kamala Harris had come in, would it be the UN that was trying to install that, or like a super PAC that was funneling money that Doge stopped? It's
right. No,
all day back and forth.
No. That was the theory that people use, that Elon Musk was the one that paid for Trump to be in office.
Oh, I fully believe that. I put a video out back then when the election was going on. I said it was never a race between Trump versus Harris. It was always a race between Elon Musk and Mark Rubin, because that's really just who the people cared about. Like people looked at Elon Musk and he was kind of like the face of the Donald Trump administration. People looked at Mark Rubin. Yeah, he was like Kamala Harris. Like
and Taylor Swift.
He was the face. Kamala Harris had everyone. She had Beyonce, Jay-Z. Everyone went up for her.
Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
But the Kamala Harris is hard, I guess, now, because if I say pre-social media, right when Barack Obama, I feel like she would have won in the Barack Obama era because there was less social media. But they just, every time they would interview her and people that were like podcasts, they weren't on the, I'm getting paid to, yeah, agree with you. It was like, all right, what's your policy? Okay, the policy is this and that. And then people like,
She was very ambiguous, right? I think that she was very like politician, and I think that's really what won Trump the presidency was that she was very politician. Like instead of saying, "Oh well, I have a policy of this," it was like, "Well, you know, the policy of this is worthy, and the policy of that is worthy, and if we do this, and if we do," she never really took a stance.
Yeah.
And I think that people kind of got tired of that. Because
appeasing to try to appease to everybody
because
versus
Trump took a very firm stance.
So
and people wanted that.
They could stick to something. They'd be like, all right, well, if he ain't gonna do this, he gonna do this. I'll stick to this.
Right. And now we're 6-9 months in, and things have changed. But yeah, I definitely think it. I don't necessarily think it was her being a woman or a person of color. I mean, who was that guy? It really is the fact that that campaign took advantage of cancel culture. You know, there was this TikToker that like he starts his videos out with like a degree. Like I have a business degree in communications, and he like throws it. It's like a whole thing. And he came on and made a video about why Kamala Harris was going to lose and how she could win if she just changed her campaign strategy. People canceled that man so quick. Like the dog pile because he said a word that was negative about Kamala Harris. Now, if she had just listened to that and said like, you know, I mean, it's a TikToker. He doesn't really mean anything, but he was right and she lost. And instead of employing well, you're a bad person because you don't like Kamala, I think if they would have employed okay, so you don't like her, let's take a look at why and let's come up with a solution, I think she would have won. So I don't know, but I mean, I'm not a politics major. I really don't know that much about politics, but
yeah, I think it also steps into the because many people were, I guess, from what the news articles and interviews of people having their opinion about it, I've seen a lot of people debating the idea because it's like you have the aspect of not knowing if, I guess, beside Trump, right? You have the aspect of not knowing how she came into knowing the truths and half-truths of how she came into her position politically discouraged a lot of people because it made it seem like you were somebody's side piece to somebody's, like, not that you weren't putting in the work, right? It's almost like the journalists
Trump came from freaking you're fired. Like,
yeah. He was a celebrity.
Reality star.
Yeah. Entrepreneur / celebrity.
And now we got freaking Linda McMahon running our education department, man. Like,
yeah. I think it becomes this like.
And here we are back at the government. So thanks so much for watching, guys. We're gonna go ahead and end this episode. This was a great episode. I think it was another 4-hour episode in tangential, but at least we hit a few different parts. So thanks so much for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you visit next week when we're gonna do another episode of Higher Level. Thank you.